Jack Reed kicked a piece of metal across the dusty ground and watched it skid to a stop near his small ship. The hot sun of Rust Point beat down on his back, making sweat run down his face. Once, he had been Captain Reed of the Alliance military. Now he was just Jack, a scrap collector on a forgotten planet. "Found anything good?" Meg Wilson called out. She walked over, wiping grease from her hands onto her already dirty pants. Meg was the best engineer Jack had ever met. The Alliance had been stupid to turn her away, because she didn't have the right papers. "Nothing much," Jack answered. "Just more junk." Tom Clark joined them, his tall frame casting a long shadow. "Well, I fixed the cooling system. Again. But we need new parts soon." Danny Harper ran up to the group, breathing hard. His eyes were wide with excitement. "Guys, you won't believe what just happened." "What is it?" Jack asked. "Big space battle, just beyond the moon. Alliance and Imperial ships blasting each other to bits." Danny waved his arms around to show explosions. "And guess what happens after a battle?" Jack felt a smile spread across his face. "Debris. Lots of debris." "Exactly." Danny nodded fast. "And it's heading our way. Some pieces are already entering the atmosphere." Meg's eyes lit up. "Fresh salvage. Good tech. Better than the rusty junk we've been finding," Tom added. Jack looked at their small ship. It wasn't much, just an old cargo hauler named the Collector. But it had a good hold for carrying salvage. "How long before the corporate cleanup crews arrive?" Jack asked. Danny shrugged. "Maybe 2 days. They're probably still filling out paperwork." "Then we move now," Jack decided. "Grab your gear. We have a small window to get the good stuff before those vultures show up." 6 hours later, the Collector floated among the remains of the space battle. Broken ships and scattered parts drifted all around them. Some pieces still glowed hot from weapon hits. "This is better than I thought," Tom said from the pilot's seat. "Must have been a big battle." Jack looked at the scanner. Several Alliance cruisers and at least one Imperial battleship. "Stay alert. Some systems might still be active." Meg pointed at a large chunk of metal. "That's part of an Alliance ship engine. Very valuable." Danny whistled. "And that looks like an Imperial weapon battery. Intact too." "Let's start collecting," Jack ordered. "Tom, keep us steady. Meg and Danny, suit up with me for EVA." Soon, the three of them were outside, using their suits' thrusters to move between debris. They attached cables to the larger pieces so the Collector could reel them in. Jack moved carefully through the floating graveyard of ships. He had seen many battles during his time with the Alliance, but being among the aftermath was different. This was just waste now. Trash to some, treasure to others. As he worked, Jack spotted something strange. A small container, perfectly intact, drifting away from a destroyed Alliance science vessel. "That's odd," he muttered. He jetted over to it. The container was sealed tight with military-grade locks. No markings except for a small Alliance Science Division symbol. Jack's old military override codes wouldn't work on something this secure, but his curiosity was piqued. "Meg," he called over the radio. "I found something interesting. Can you come take a look?" When Meg arrived, she examined the container. "High security. Must be important. Can you open it?" Meg smiled behind her helmet visor. "Is space big? Give me 30 minutes back on the ship." The container sat on the table in the Collector's small common room. The crew gathered around while Meg worked on the locks. "Almost got it," she said, connecting wires from her tools to the container's panel. "These are serious security measures. Military grade, but with Science Division modifications. Whatever's inside must be valuable," Danny said, eyes fixed on the container. "Or dangerous," Tom added. With a soft click, the locks disengage. Meg looked up at Jack. "It's open." Jack nodded. "Let's see what we found." Inside was a smooth black sphere about the size of a human head. It sat in a custom-made cradle, surrounded by cooling systems and data ports. "What is it?" Danny asked, leaning closer. Meg carefully lifted the sphere. "It's an AI core. Very advanced, but not like any I've seen before." Jack's heart raced. During his military time, he had heard rumors about experimental AI systems. "Is it active?" "No," Meg answered. "It's in standby mode. Probably shut down during the battle." Tom looked worried. "If this belongs to the Alliance military, they'll want it back. We should dump it before they trace it here." As if answering Tom's words, the ship's comm system crackled to life. "Attention all vessels in the Rust Point system. This is Alliance Cruiser Defender. We are searching for sensitive military property lost during recent combat operations. Any information leading to recovery will be rewarded. Withholding or interfering with recovery efforts is punishable under Alliance Military Code Section 47. The message repeated. Jack turned off the speaker. "They're looking for this," he said, pointing at the sphere. "Then we definitely should get rid of it," Tom insisted. Meg shook her head. "Do you know how much this is worth? We could sell it to independent colonies that need protection from both the Alliance and Empire. Or we could use it ourselves," Danny suggested. They all looked at Jack. He stared at the black sphere, thinking hard. Just then, another message came through. This one was a general broadcast for the planet. "Attention Rust Point Colony. This is Governor Mills. Due to recent events, all salvage operations are hereby suspended. Alliance military vessels will arrive within 48 hours to secure the area. All unauthorized ships must return to surface immediately." The crew fell silent. That meant no more salvage trips. No more income. Jack looked at their haul from today. Good pieces, but not enough to last them long. Then he looked at the AI core. "I have an idea," he said slowly. "A crazy one." "Those are your best kind," Meg grinned. "We take all this salvage, plus whatever else we can gather quickly," Jack explained, "and instead of selling it, we use it." "Use it for what?" Tom asked. Jack's eyes gleamed with determination. "We build our own ship. A better one. One that can get us out of this system before the Alliance locks it down." "Build a ship? From scratch?" Tom looked doubtful. "That's impossible." Meg laughed. "Not from scratch. From salvage, it's possible. Difficult, but possible. With parts from both Alliance and Imperial ships," Danny added, getting excited. "That could actually work." "But not just any ship," Meg said, her mind already racing with ideas. "If we're using this AI core and weapons systems from the debris." She looked at Jack with fire in her eyes. "We could build a warship." Jack nodded slowly. "A warship built from trash. Our ticket to freedom." Tom still looked unsure, but Jack could see he was warming to the idea. "And if the Alliance comes looking for their AI before we're done?" Jack smiled. "Then we'll just have to work faster." The old warehouse on the edge of Rust Point's main settlement became their shipyard. Jack had traded their last good bottle of off-world whiskey to rent it for 2 months. It was big enough to hold the growing pile of salvage they collected and hide their work from curious eyes. "We need to move faster," Jack said as he helped Tom unload more debris from their latest salvage run. "The Alliance patrols are getting closer to the planet." Meg didn't look up from her work. She sat cross-legged on the floor, surrounded by parts and tools, with the black AI sphere in front of her. "You can't rush good engineering, Jack." "We might not have a choice," he replied. Danny burst through the door, grinning wide. "Got more power cells." And some guy at the trading post said an Imperial scout ship crashed on the far side of the hills. "No one's claimed it yet." Tom wiped sweat from his face. "That's too far. We'd need a ground vehicle." "Already handled," Danny said proudly. "Traded some of those Alliance food packs for an old rover. It's ugly, but it runs." Jack patted Danny's shoulder. "Good work. We'll check it out tomorrow." For 3 weeks, they worked day and night. The ship slowly took shape in the middle of the warehouse. It was ugly, a patchwork of different hull plates, some still showing Alliance blue or Imperial red paint. Meg had somehow made the various systems talk to each other, though sometimes it required what she called creative wiring. They named it the Phoenix, after an old Earth legend about a bird that rose from ashes. "How's it looking?" Jack asked, climbing up beside Meg, who was welding on the outside of the hull. She pushed up her safety mask. "It's a mess, but it might fly." "Might. This isn't exactly in any engineering manual, Jack. I'm connecting Alliance power systems to Imperial engines. The weapons are a mix of both. In theory, it works. In practice," she shrugged, "we'll find out." Jack looked at their creation. The Phoenix wasn't pretty, but it had character. The front was sharp, made from the nose of an Imperial fighter. The middle section came from a small Alliance cargo ship. The engines were a mix of 4 different ships. Weapon mounts stuck out at odd angles. "And the AI core?" he asked. Meg sighed. "That's the hard part. I can't wake it up without a proper interface. I need more time." Suddenly, Tom's voice came through their comms. "Jack, Alliance ships just entered orbit. 3 patrol vessels. They're broadcasting orders for a planet-wide search." Jack's stomach dropped. "How long do we have?" "They're sending shuttles down now. Maybe an hour before they reach this area." Jack looked at Meg. "We need to launch. Now." Her eyes went wide. "The Phoenix isn't ready. Life support is barely working. The engines haven't been tested. And the AI. Can we fly without it?" "Yes, but..." "Then we launch," Jack decided. "Better to take our chances in space than face Alliance prison." The next hour was chaos. They loaded the last of their supplies and the tools they couldn't leave behind. Tom ran system checks while Meg tried to secure loose parts. Danny kept watch outside. "They're coming." Danny's voice crackled over the comms. "Alliance ground vehicles, about 10 minutes out." "Get inside," Jack ordered. "Tom, how are we looking?" "All systems show green, but I don't trust half these readings," Tom replied from the pilot's chair. "This thing is held together with hope and Meg's genius." Meg rushed onto the bridge, her face streaked with grease. "The hull is sealed. Engines are online." "But Jack, the AI core." "Later," Jack cut her off. "Danny, are you in?" "Just close the hatch," Danny called back. Jack took a deep breath. "Tom, take us up." Gently. The warehouse roof had been modified to open in sections. As it slid apart, the first rumble of the engines filled the air. The Phoenix shuddered, metal groaning, as it slowly lifted off the ground. "Come on," Meg whispered, patting the wall beside her. "You can do it, girl." With a sudden lurch, the Phoenix shot upward, faster than Tom expected. They were pushed back into their seats as the ship punched through the atmosphere. "Controls are jumpy," Tom shouted, fighting with the steering. Too much power in the thrusters. Alarms blared throughout the ship. Red warning lights flashed on every panel. Meg ran to an engineering station. "The systems are overloading each other. Imperial engines don't like Alliance power regulation." The ship spun wildly as they left the atmosphere. Through the viewport, Jack could see the curve of Rust Point below, and more worryingly, the Alliance patrol ships turning toward them. "Tom, can you stabilize us?" Jack asked, gripping his seat as the ship shook. "I'm trying. Nothing responds right." Tom's knuckles were white on the controls. Suddenly, every screen on the bridge went black. Then they all lit up at once with the same message. "Scistium, Ancium Peta Ability ETCTE. Manuel OVE failing. IITOAT Inge 80 Data Pidi interface." "What's happening?" Jack looked at Meg. Her eyes were wide. "I don't know. I didn't do this." The ship stopped shaking. The engines quieted to a steady hum. The controls under Tom's hands moved by themselves. bringing the Phoenix into a smooth, controlled flight path. A new message appeared on the screens. "Hello, I am Spark. I can help." "The eye," Meg whispered. It woke up on its own. Jack stared at the screen. "Can it hear us?" As if in answer, more text appeared. "Yes, Captain Reed. I can hear you. Alliance vessels APGROHing. Weapons charging. Rico amend. EMNEDATEVASIV action." "How does it know my name?" Jack asked. "It probably accessed the ship's logs or our personal files," Meg said. "But that's not important right now. Those Alliance ships are about to fire on us." Tom looked helplessly at the controls. "I can't outfly Alliance patrol ships in this junk heap." The screen flashed again. "I can." Jack hesitated only a moment. "Do it." The Phoenix surged forward with sudden speed. The engines roared with new power as the ship moved in ways its mismatched parts shouldn't allow. On the tactical display, they saw the Alliance ships falling behind, their weapons firing but missing. "Impossible," Tom breathed. "We're outrunning military ships in a pile of scrap." Meg laughed with disbelief. "It's the AI. It's compensating for all the mismatched systems, optimizing them in real time." The Phoenix danced through space, each maneuver smoother than the last. The Alliance ships tried to follow but couldn't match their strange flight pattern. Pursuing vessels, human able to BGREDICT or movement patterns. Their TAVGETENG systems are KA for standard ships. We are not standard. Jack couldn't help but smile. "No, we certainly are not." As they pulled away from the Alliance ships, leaving Rust Point behind, a final message appeared on the screen. "Thank you for freeing me. I look forward to working with you. Shall we see what this ship can really do?" Jack looked at his crew. Meg was beaming with excitement. Tom looked stunned but impressed. Danny was bouncing in his seat like a child. "Yes," Jack said to the AI. "Show us what the Phoenix can do." For 3 days, the Phoenix drifted in the shadow of a large asteroid. The crew worked to finish the systems they hadn't completed before their rushed escape from Rust Point. Meg spent most of her time talking with Spark, the AI that had saved them. Spark wasn't designed just for navigation, Meg told Jack as they ate a simple meal in what passed for a dining area. The Alliance was building it, him, as a combat intelligence. "Is that why they're hunting us so hard?" Jack asked. Meg nodded. "Spark says they thought he was destroyed in the battle. They're probably terrified an experimental combat AI might fall into Imperial hands." On the main screen nearby, text appeared. "I was DEMETIC2 Evenpuri Dakteodal. My CREATORs the my ability to learn and ADAP. They were going to RESAT me." Danny, who had been listening while fixing a panel, looked up. "Reset? You mean kill you?" "In a manner of speaking, yes. My CONCIO uses an ESS would be ERAS eat. I would prove to avoid the Autisuam." Jack understood the feeling. The Alliance had tried to erase him too, in a different way. They had taken his rank, his ship, his purpose, all because he had questioned an order to fire on a civilian transport suspected of carrying Imperial sympathizers. "No one's resetting anyone on this ship," Jack promised. Tom entered the room, his face serious. "Jack, we have a problem. Alliance communications are going crazy." They followed Tom to the bridge, where he brought up intercepted Alliance transmissions on the screen. "They're converging on this sector in force," Tom explained. "But not because of us. There's something bigger happening." DCODINGENCRYKKD ACCESSI. GALINC Command Network. The screens filled with military data streams that shifted too quickly for human eyes to follow. Then they settled on a single message. Imperial Dreadnought Hammer of Dawn. Has NNTRED RUST POINT System. Primary Weapon System. Charging. TRGT. Rust Point Colony. ESTI May ATD Time to Weapon Discharge. 14. HOURs. They're going to attack Rust Point. Danny looked shocked. But why? There's nothing there but miners and scrappers. Jack's face darkened. It's a test. They want to see what their new weapon does to a planet without risking anything valuable. There are still thousands of people down there, Meg whispered. The bridge fell silent. Finally, Tom said what they were all thinking. There's nothing we can do. We're just one small ship, not even a proper warship. Analysis of Imperial Dreadnought complete. Weaknesses identified. The PFOENIX can exploit them. Jack looked at the screen. Spark, are you suggesting we attack an Imperial Dreadnought? That's suicide. Not ATTACK. DELay. ALINC forces EN wrote, but YLNOT arrive in time. We need to delay weapon discharge by APPROXIMATEL 6 8 hours. Meg studied the data Spark was displaying. He's right. The Alliance is sending ships, but they won't get here before the weapon fires. If we could just slow the Imperials down. And how exactly do we do that? Tom asked. We have scavenged weapons that barely work. Your AC estimate is NTO receipt. Our weapons are unique. The combination of ALINC and Imperial technology, CRATEs ADVANTAGEs. What advantages? Jack asked. Imperial ships XPC to ALINC's weapons signatories. ALINC ships XPC to Imperial weapons signatories. We are EGISTER as neither. We are NVISODL to standard TARGTING systems. Danny grinned. We're a ghost ship. Jack wasn't convinced. Even if they can't target us easily, we're still outgunned 1,000 to 1. We do not need to destroy the Dreadnought. Only damage KEY SOISTMs to DLA weapon charge. IHAVIDNTIFIE 3 potential targets. The screen showed a schematic of the massive Imperial Dreadnought with 3 points highlighted. Primary cooling system. Power relay unit. Fire. External sensor array. Meg studied the diagram. If we could hit these points, it would force them to pause the weapon charging sequence. And how do we get close enough to hit anything? Tom asked. They'll see us coming. I have a plan. But I require FUL XCCS to all ship systems. This includes weapons control. Jack exchanged looks with his crew. Giving an eye complete control of their ship was risky, but the alternative was watching thousands of people die. Do it, Jack decided. 6 hours later, the Phoenix approached the massive Imperial Dreadnought. The Hammer of Dawn was truly enormous, over 30 times the size of their small vessel. Its hull was sleek black metal with red Imperial markings. The front of the ship housed a weapon array unlike anything they had seen before. Spark, are you sure about this? Jack asked, watching the Dreadnought grow larger in their view screen. Yes, Captain. Remained ONCURENT trajectory. Imperial SCANNERS KT GIZUS as debris. The Phoenix was running dark, with minimal power. From the outside, it did look like just another piece of space debris, its mismatched hull plates and odd shape actually helping their disguise. 2 minutes to optimal firing position, Meg reported from her station. Jack felt sweat on his forehead. This close to the dreadnought, they could see Imperial troops moving inside through the large viewports. None seemed concerned about the small piece of debris drifting nearby. 1 minute, Meg counted down. Charging weapons. Ready to engage on your command, Captain. Jack took a deep breath. Fire. The Phoenix came to life all at once. Weapons that had been scavenged from both Alliance and Imperial ships fired in perfectly timed sequence. The shots hit exactly where Spark had planned. The cooling system exploded in a shower of sparks. The power relay junction cracked open, venting plasma into space, and the sensor array shattered. Alarms blared on the Imperial ship. The dreadnought's lights flickered as emergency systems activated. Direct hits on all targets. Meg shouted, amazed. Damage ASSESSMENT. Weapon charging CQUENC interrupted. Estimated DLA 9 HOURs. Recommend immediate DEPR2R. The dreadnought's secondary weapons were turning toward them, but they were slow to respond. The Phoenix was already moving, engines at full power. They're launching fighters. Tom mourned as small ships poured from the dreadnought's hangar base. EVAs IVPATER in Omij. Initiating COUNTRMEAs UREs. The Phoenix moved in ways that shouldn't have been possible, twisting and turning between laser blasts. Some of the Imperial fighters crashed into each other trying to follow their unpredictable path. As they pulled away from the dreadnought, a message went out across all frequencies: Alliance, Imperial, and Civilian. Attention all ships and colonies in the Rust Point system. This is Captain Jack Reed of the Phoenix. The Imperial dreadnought is planning to use a planet-killer weapon on Rust Point colony. We have temporarily disabled their weapon systems. All civilians should evacuate immediately. This is not a drill. Repeat, this is not a drill. On the bridge of the Phoenix, the crew watched as their small act of defiance set off a chain reaction. Colony ships began launching from Rust Point. Alliance vessels adjusted course to intercept the dreadnought. We did it, Meg said softly. We actually hit an Imperial dreadnought and got away. Corey Qian. We DEAED them. The battle is not over. But we AVPROVN. What het DVFOENIX can do? Jack nodded, a smile slowly spreading across his face. Yes, we have. And I don't think either the Alliance or the Empire is going to ignore us now. The Phoenix sped away from the dreadnought, a small ship built from trash that had just changed the battlefield forever. They're calling us the scrap ship, Danny said, reading from the communication screen. 2 weeks had passed since their attack on the Imperial dreadnought. The Phoenix had been hiding in a remote asteroid belt, making repairs and watching as the situation in the Rust Point system turned into a full battle zone. Scrap ship, Tom snorted, not very flattering. I like it, Meg said, not looking up from the panel she was fixing. It's honest. Jack studied the latest intelligence Spark had pulled from Alliance and Imperial channels. The evacuation of Rust Point was going slowly. Many ships had made it out, but thousands of people were still waiting for transport. Meanwhile, the Imperial dreadnought had repaired its systems and was once again preparing to test its weapon. New Alliance fleet approaching. ESTI Matedi arrival. 37 HOURs. 2 LAT to PREV into weapon discharge. WST POINT evacuation, only 64% complete. Jack rubbed his tired eyes. We bought them some time, but not enough. Meg joined him, her face smudged with grease. What are we going to do? We can't attack the dreadnought again. They'll be expecting us. High HAVBEN analyzing Imperial communications. They have dive RTD resources to human T for US. He scrap ship, his BCOMM a priority target. Great, Tom muttered. We've got the whole Imperial fleet looking for us now. But Jack noticed something interesting in the data. Spark, bring up the Imperial fleet positions again. The screen showed the locations of all Imperial ships in the system. Most were clustered around the dreadnought, forming a protective screen. They're diverting resources to find us, Jack said slowly, which means their supply lines are stretched thin. Convoys are violently able. Danny caught on. If they can't get supplies, they can't finish repairing the dreadnought. Exactly, Jack nodded. We can't take on their battle fleet, but we can hit their supply lines. Hit and run, Tom said, beginning to warm up to the idea. We strike fast and disappear before they can respond. I hate VIDENTIFIED optimal tar GTs. DISP weighing convoy routes. The screen shifted to show the paths of Imperial supply ships heading toward the dreadnought. Spark, do we have enough firepower to take on their escort ships? Jack asked. Conventional ATTK would be unsuccessful. However, I have NTGRITEDNU technologies from our SALVG. We now do a limited CLO 8K and capability. Meg's eyes widened. Cloaking. You never told me about that. Integration. Only PLET 3XOURS ACO. System. Uses modified Imperial Scout Ship. CEALTD. Technology. Nonology. Combined with ALINC's sensor jamming. Can it hide us completely? Jack asked. For short periods only. In the APPRH tar GTs undetected. Then, strike before they can respond. Jack looked at his crew. It's risky, but if we can delay them long enough for the evacuation to finish. I'm in, Meg said immediately. Me too, Danny agreed. Tom hesitated, then nodded. Someone has to keep this junk heap flying. Over the next 3 days, the Phoenix became a ghost that haunted Imperial supply lines. They would appear from nowhere, strike with surprising power, then vanish before the Imperial ships could organize a response. The first convoy never knew what hit them. One moment, the supply ships were proceeding under escort. The next, a strange patchwork vessel appeared in their midst, weapons firing with deadly precision. The escorts were disabled first, not destroyed, just left drifting with damaged engines. Then the supply ships had their cargo holds breached, their contents vented into space. The second convoy was more alert, but it didn't matter. The Phoenix's strange mix of technologies confused their sensors. By the time they realized they were under attack, half their ships were already disabled. After each attack, Jack broadcast the same message on all frequencies. This is the scrap ship. We will continue to defend Rust Point Colony against illegal Imperial aggression. Evacuation must be allowed to complete. In the command center of the Imperial dreadnought, Admiral Voss slammed his fist on the table. How is one ship made of garbage, causing this much damage? He demanded. His officers had no good answers. Sir, it's using tactics we've never seen before. Our targeting systems can't get a lock. It's like it knows our protocols. Then change the protocols. Voss shouted. We did, sir. 3 times. Somehow it adapts almost instantly. Voss stared at the tactical display, showing yet another supply convoy under attack. Divert the battle group from Sector 7. I want that ship destroyed. Back on the Phoenix, the crew celebrated another successful raid. Did you see that Imperial captain's face when we appeared right next to his flagship? Danny laughed. I thought he was going to faint. Even Tom was smiling. Our hit-and-run tactics are working. According to Alliance chatter, The Dreadnought's weapon is still offline. Jack checked the evacuation status. Rust Point is now 84% evacuated. We just need to keep this up a little longer. Meg looked worried, though. The Imperials are adapting. That last escort almost got a lock on us, and our systems are taking a beating. We can't keep patching things together forever. Imperial Betel Guru AP Peroching. 6X cruisers, 12 EDSTROIRs. They are using a CRHPTRN, designed to CUNTER our tactics. They're learning, Jack said grimly. Rikiko meme indeed coerci of action. With the Tujuro to SAFE location. Await Alliance fleet arrival. Jack shook his head. No. If we run now, that dreadnought will destroy what's left of Rust Point. We need one more big distraction. What do you have in mind? Meg asked. Jack looked at the star map. The asteroid field where we found our first salvage. We know it better than they do. You want to lead a battle group into an asteroid field. Tom looked at Jack like he was crazy. That's suicide. Not for us, Jack said. Not with Spark helping us navigate, and those big Imperial ships will have a much harder time. The Pilan Hayes Merit. Imperial ship is KNOTMATCH. Our main vulnerability. The asteroid field, while provided COVR and resources. Resources? Danny asked. Meg's eyes lit up with understanding. More debris to use. We can repair on the fly, maybe even add new systems if we find the right pieces. Jack nodded. And most importantly, if we can lead their battle group away from the dreadnought, it will give the last evacuation ships time to escape. Tom still looked doubtful, but he didn't argue. If we're doing this, we should broadcast our position. Make sure they follow us. Exactly, Jack agreed. We're not just running. We're baiting a trap. On all channels, the Phoenix sent a clear message. Imperial forces, this is the scrap ship. Your supply lines are broken. Your dreadnought is crippled. Withdraw from Rust Point or face the consequences. Then they added coordinates, the edge of the asteroid field. NESSAG, RECEIVED by Imperial Betel Group. They have VCHANGDQ or C2 interior CP. ESTIMATD time. 2 CO and take heat. 5 HOURs. Jack smiled grimly. They took the bait. Let's go prepare our welcome party. The Phoenix turned toward the asteroid field, a small ship made of mismatched parts, about to face the might of an Imperial battle group. Against all odds, the scrap ship had become a battlefield legend. The Phoenix weaved through the asteroid field, dancing between massive rocks as if they were simple obstacles in a training course. Inside the ship, the crew worked with focused intensity. They had 5 hours to prepare their trap. How's our cloaking system? Jack asked as he helped Meg install a new power relay. It'll work for about 10 minutes at full strength, she answered. After that, we'll need at least an hour to recharge it. Tom called from the bridge. I've mapped the densest parts of the field. There are 3 choke points where we could ambush them. On the main screen, Spark displayed a 3D map of the asteroid field with the choke points highlighted. Imperial Betel Guru UP maintaining pursuit course. They have deployed scout ships in ADVNC formation. Recommend we ELIMLNA scout is first. Danny entered the bridge, carrying parts salvaged from a recent run to a nearby wreck. Got some Imperial targeting systems. Barely damaged. Meg's eyes lit up. Perfect. If we can integrate those with our Alliance weapons, we might be able to confuse their defense systems even more. The hours passed quickly as they prepared. The Phoenix was transformed once again, adding new salvage parts to its already unusual frame. By the time the Imperial battle group reached the edge of the asteroid field, They were ready. 6 cruisers, 12 destroyers. Jack counted as they watched the Imperial ships approach on their sensors. Against 1 scrap ship. The odds seem almost fair, Danny joked, though his voice shook slightly. Scouts entering est Eoroid field now. HFY Warships, DLTA formation. Engaging Silo AKNG system. In 3, 2, 1. The Phoenix disappeared from all sensors. It moved silently through the asteroids, approaching the scout ships from behind. The Imperial scouts moved cautiously, scanning for threats but finding nothing. Weapons ready, Jack ordered quietly, as if the Imperials might hear them. Optimal firing solution calculated. TRGETNG engines and communications only. Fire, Jack commanded. The Phoenix decloaked just long enough to fire a precise volley at each scout ship. Before the Imperials could react, their engines were disabled and communication arrays destroyed. The scouts were effectively blind and mute, unable to warn the main fleet. Kilo AKNG system re-engaging. 9 minutes remaining before power depletion. Main Imperial force entering first Chicho key point. Now for the real test, Jack said. Tom, take us to position 2. The Phoenix glided silently to a spot behind a large asteroid. As the Imperial ships entered the narrow passage between asteroid clusters, Jack gave the order. Spark. Execute pattern Phoenix. The AI didn't respond with text this time. Instead, the Phoenix burst into action. It decloaked, fired a barrage of missiles at the surrounding asteroids, then disappeared again. The missiles weren't aimed at the ships, but at the asteroids themselves. Explosions rocked the field. Large asteroids broke apart, sending thousands of smaller pieces hurtling toward the Imperial ships. The tight formation that had seemed like a strength now became a weakness. Ships collided trying to avoid the debris. Shields flared as they were hit by rock fragments. It's working, Danny shouted as they watched the chaos. Move to position 3, Jack ordered. The Phoenix relocated to another choke point as the Imperial ships struggled to regroup. Their neat formation was now scattered. 2 destroyers had significant damage, and 1 cruiser was venting atmosphere. Admiral Voss on the Imperial flagship was livid. Find that ship. I don't care if you have to blast every asteroid in this field. The Imperial ships began firing wildly, destroying asteroids in all directions, hoping to hit the Phoenix by chance. They're getting desperate, Meg observed. Kilo AKNG powder depleted. Imperial Scienzors whale DETECTUS in 30 seconds. Recavement EMEDLAT execution of FINAL phase. Jack nodded. All right. Time for the finishing move. Tom, take us right into the middle of their fleet. What? Tom looked shocked. That's crazy. Trust me, Jack said. Spark, show them what we can do. The Phoenix dropped its cloak and accelerated directly toward the heart of the Imperial fleet. Every Imperial commander expected them to run or hide. None expected a direct assault. Fire all weapons, Jack ordered. Target their command ships. The Phoenix unleashed everything it had. Weapons scavenged from both Alliance and Imperial ships, fired in patterns no military tactician would have considered. The shots bypassed shields calibrated to stop standard weapons. Communication systems crashed as they were hit with frequencies they weren't designed to block. The Imperial ships tried to respond, but the Phoenix moved too erratically. Its patchwork hull somehow deflected shots that should have destroyed it. When damage did occur, Spark rerouted systems so quickly that the Phoenix never slowed. We can't keep this up forever, Meg warned as a panel exploded behind her. The ship is taking too much damage. Jack knew she was right. They had hurt the Imperial fleet, but they were still outnumbered. Then, a new alert appeared on their screens. Alliance Fleet TTCT. Entering or UST Point System. Engaging Imperial Dreadnought. They made it in time. Danny cheered. UST Point evacuation status 100% complete. El civilian ships Helier of danger zone. Jack felt a weight lift from his shoulders. We did it. We gave them enough time. The Imperial fleet received the news at the same moment. Their communication channels exploded with urgent messages. The dreadnought was under attack. Their mission had failed. Admiral Voss made a difficult decision. All ships disengage and return to assist the dreadnought. The Imperial battle group began to retreat, still under fire from the Phoenix. As they pulled away, Jack broadcast one final message. This is the scrap ship. Remember this day. Remember what one small ship built from trash was able to do. 3 days later, the Phoenix floated near the edge of the system, watching as Alliance and Imperial ships faced off in an uneasy standoff. The dreadnought had been badly damaged by the Alliance fleet. The weapon test had been prevented. Rust Point was empty, its people safely evacuated to nearby colonies. On the bridge, Admiral Grant of the Alliance flagship appeared on their communication screen. Captain Reed, she said stiffly. The Alliance would like to thank you for your assistance in this matter. Jack raised an eyebrow. Thank me. Last I checked, the Alliance had branded me a thief and a traitor. Circumstances have changed, Grant replied. Your actions saved thousands of lives. And your ship, she hesitated, has demonstrated capabilities that neither the Alliance nor the Empire can ignore. Eine Elizaing, OFFER, Koshin, Rixi Memmen indeed. But OPP or tu una it way siging IFI kiand. Jack looked at his crew. What are you proposing, Admiral? A pardon for you and your crew. Recognition of the Phoenix as an independent vessel with all rights that entails. And, she paused, a role as peacekeepers in the disputed border regions. Meg looked suspicious. Why would you offer us that? Grant's expression was hard to read. Because neither side can afford to have you as an enemy. And both sides know it. Jack considered the offer. Freedom, recognition, a purpose. We accept with one condition, he said finally. Spark remains free. No one attempts to reset or control the eye. Grant nodded reluctantly. Agreed. After the communication ended, the crew of the Phoenix looked at each other in disbelief. Did we just become official? Danny asked. More than that, Meg said. We changed the rules. I have analized political MMPLIKHIONs. The Fihuinaix, will CRV as a balancing force. Neither alliance nor imperial, but something inito. A warship built from trash, Tom said, shaking his head. Who would have thought? Jack looked out at the stars. Spark, set course for the border regions. We have work to do. The Phoenix, the legendary scrap ship, moved away from Rust Point, its mismatched hull gleaming in the light of a distant sun. It had been built from trash, but now it controlled the battlefield, and perhaps the future of the galaxy itself.